Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? It's David Potter, Leo King, and we're going to be talking about the full moon today and a lot of other aspects. And I have my special guest here, Alex from Coyote Star Astrology. Alex, why don't you tell us how people can find you?
I have a YouTube channel. You can search me at Coyote Star Astrology. I do weekly forecasts and new moon and full moon videos.
And you do it on Facebook, too.
Yes, my Facebook is Coyote Star Astrology as well.
And so, you all probably don't know, but we've been friends for a while now, and we've been rapping astrology for a long time. Like, whenever crazy shit's going on, like, me and Alex will be like, oh my God, can you believe this fucking shit? And oh my God, and then tell all the scenarios, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's good to have that as an astrologer to another astrologer, to have that rapping aspect, but it's also good, I think, as people who are astrology just fans or just followers, to have other people that are like that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to know what really got you into astrology, though.
Wow. Well, I've always been into astrology, but I got serious about it during my Saturn return about 2-3 years ago. And
you have Saturn in Sag.
Yeah, the 9th. So it was, yeah, I would actually be curious to know what was going on with Uranus in my chart, because it was a total lightning bolt insight that occurred where actually a friend of mine just asked me, I was doing her chart, and she said, you know, do you do this professionally? And I said, no, I could never do that. And she said, why? And I was like, oh my God, that's it. I never get sick of talking about it. It's my biggest passion, and it still is.
Well, you have Uranus in Sag too, then, right?
Yeah.
So
there you go. That's exactly what was happening.
And Neptune was squaring all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably getting, where is your Uranus at? What degree? It's probably what, like 14?
It's right up there with it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so Neptune's starting to square. It's like you're getting massive downloads over the last couple of years, like crazy.
Every day.
But you were probably getting downloads your whole life, but it was like that point to where everything was like,
mm-hmm.
I remember when you and I were talking, and you were in it, and I remember telling you, like, you could do this.
Yes, you're kind of Saturn in my chart right now. You've been the really, like, stay focused. Thank you. Stay focused. You know, don't get distracted. You've been big on my ass about getting distracted, and no, but it's great. It's the best. That's why I'm sitting here.
I know, it's true.
I'm a Sag. I get distracted.
It's true. But, you know, so it was cool because this full moon is a big fucking deal. Like, and I know, like, full moons, new moons, eclipses, it sounds like everything is always a big shift and a big deal in astrology. But if you look at 2018 and you look at the new moons and the full moons, every single fucking one has been fucking nuts. Like, it's not been like, oh, it's a new moon, or it's a full moon, and okay, that's normal.
Well, this one's in the first degrees of Aries too, so it's arrival.
It's arrival. We got Chiron on its last day in Aries in retrograde right now, with the full moon on top of it, the sun opposing that, and then Saturn, which is, of course, in square to that.
Squaring it. And Venus, you know, she's getting sassy going into the underworld. She's getting ready for her descent, which is, I'm feeling that more than anything, I think.
Yeah, and that's something that you and I have been talking about the most, is like this whole Venus cycle and how gnarly it's going to be. Because I feel like it's going to be the most intense Venus cycle we've had in our lives, personally.
Totally agree. That's what all my clients have been flipping about. They've all been emailing me, what's going on, what's this darkness that's coming in, and I mean, we're not even really there yet. She's...
Yeah, I know. It's like she hasn't even shown, like, the snakes yet and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
we're entering the snake pit.
Yeah.
We're on right at the gate.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what's cool is, like, when we were talking about doing this, we wanted to really talk to people and be like, this full moon's a big deal. Number one, I think it's because we've been kind of saying back and forth, like, people just right now just don't give two shits anymore about the life they don't want to live.
Right.
And what do you feel, like, what are you feeling about this full moon on Chiron, for instance, with the Libra sun?
Well, I mean, any Aries full moon is about unveiling the authentic self unapologetically. Mm-hmm. You know, it's arrival, like I said, it's arriving as your true self. But because of the Venus and Scorpio aspect, which is bringing up a lot of people's shadows, I think that it's Aries is always about bravery, but with that aspect, it's about being brave enough to expose your shadow along with which is your authentic self, which is, this is my shit. It scares me. It scares me to show you, but I can't be seen by you until you can witness that and love me anyway and celebrate me anyway. And then integrating that into your work, which is the creative process for any artist, which is you got to go all in, you know, and that's why I love your work and your show, is that you're so real, you know, like you smoke cigarettes and you're being honest about that process. And I think that makes it relatable, you know. You got Mars and Scorpio, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, rah!
But I think you're right. This authenticity of true self coming out right now. Because if you also add to the equation, it's a full moon in Aries, which is a Mars-ruled sign.
Right.
It's got Chiron here, which we're going to get deeper into. But then the main thing to me really is this Mars on the South Node, like in this Mars retrograde year, and how Mars has been going through so much with the square to Uranus, with so, like Mars has been under stress, which is our ego, which is our identity. So it's like a rebooting of who we are. It's like a transformational experience that like we cannot fucking try and save like from the old self anymore. Like our ego can't try and be the way it's always been anymore. Like we're forced into these radical new selves and we're being ripped open, and there's no, like, it's full exposure of self.
Exposure and disclosure for sure. And it's not all pretty, like we were talking about earlier. It's like you know, within your relationship or your career, in front of, you know, your colleagues or whatever, you always want to look your best. But right now, it's not about that. It's impossible, like literally, to look your best right now, because you're falling apart on stage. Is like basically what it feels like.
No, I know, and that's the craziest part of it all, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that the main thing though about it all is not being afraid to step into your shadow and feel guilty about it. Because I think there's a lot of guilt going on in everybody's self about like bringing out this self and then feeling like this has to do with old paradigm shit, because this square to Saturn in traditional Capricorn is like in its space for the first time in our lives where Pluto's there. So it's like, I'm trying to keep the tradition, but Pluto's like not gonna let me keep my old traditions anymore.
No.
And so that crazy part of like exposing ourselves with the traditions that no longer are working, and the traditional paradigm, the traditional world.
Especially with relationships.
And especially with relationships.
Yeah. And
especially with even businesses now, right? Yeah. And with, I mean, we can go on, it's like in every part of our lives. But I think that's the hardest part for people, is this fear of like moving into a whole new direction. This fear of moving into a whole new space. This fear of like what looks like on the other side if I actually do cross over the fucking bridge and to the world that nobody's really over there yet.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the important thing to remember too is that that's a total illusion, and we're all experiencing this. And I think, like you were saying, the guilt, I think that people are feeling really isolated and alone in that process to some degree, but literally everybody's going through that.
It's all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
Like literally I'm just like seeing it everywhere, everybody's stories. I've heard more of the most fucking insane stories for the build up to this full moon than any time in my life. Like I'm just like, whoa, like, this is, and it's like, because this Mars Aquarius has been here for so long, and the South Node's here. And what's ironic is Mars is on the South Node during a full moon in Aries, which is a Mars-ruled energy. So it's like we all feel defeated about ourselves in the way that we've been trying to be, that's not fully who we are. And I think that the suppression of our, whether you call it our shadow, our truth, you know, people take shadow the wrong way, I think, you know what I mean? But like, you know, it's like the main thing though is like the last 6 years was all about Scorpio, right? It was like Saturn entered in, you know, in 2012, was there till 2015. Then in 2016, Mars retrograde in Scorpio, 17, Jupiter's in Scorpio, and now we're finishing that in 18. So it's been 6 years of massive Scorpio work, and now we're finishing it off with the bang of the Venus retrograde in Scorpio.
Yeah.
You and I connect on the Scorpio thing a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing about Scorpio, and regarding shadow, being a really Scorpionic person myself, I can get really gung-ho about shadow work. That's what my whole life is based around, is exposing the shadow and digging deep and going into the places where it hurts. And in times when I'm not so much doing that, I can talk about shadow work like, oh yeah, I've got it, it's great. But the thing about Scorpio is that Scorpio knows the shadows that are the most terrifying, that even you don't even know what they are until it's divinely orchestrated to push the one button you wish to God wasn't pushed.
Right.
And then it's pushed. And it's like the Phoenix, the whole Phoenix deal.
Just boom. And then it's like, you got to deal with it, you know?
So I think that...
Hold on, we got to fix your mic. It's rubbing on something. People are like, oh yeah, this is an excuse for him to do some Scorpio work on her. So put it somewhere.
I told you we should do it this side.
Okay. Right in here. See, we're authentic and real. I don't give a flying fuck. All right, so the thing is, though, Chiron's going to come back into Pisces tomorrow after this full moon. So really the full moon is covering the transition of Chiron moving back into Pisces at the last degree of the chart, which is 29 degrees Pisces, which is, let's be honest, like the most depressing, fearful in a different way.
I want you to really go into the Chiron and Pisces thing.
So, number one, Chiron is the feeling that you're not, the packaging is not very fine and beautiful with Chiron. Because, number one, if you look at it from a science term, Chiron does not look like a planet because it isn't one, but it is doing the same thing that a planet does. It's going around the sun, it's orbiting the sun with the other planets, it's coming within their field, but it's not a planet.
Right.
And it's got the mythology, of course. Everybody thinks, it's the wounds, it's the wounds. It's like, that's like the baby shit. Like the real shit is like, you are an immortal centaur who gets shot and you're like, what the fuck? Like, and it's from your own teammate.
Right.
Like it's from one of your own fucking gods. Because remember, people don't realize Battle of the Gods was a real thing. Like gods used to battle each other. And so Chiron was in the battle and fucking didn't get shot by the other dudes. Got shot by his own fucking crew. So he had to live with that whole like, this is fucked up. And so that's the whole wound thing, is a lot of people think it's like, oh, he had the arrow in his side and he continued to help people, which is part of the story. But the real thing is having to deal with a blow of, holy shit. There's nothing more shittier than losing your immortality from the god's perspective.
Right.
And so that Chiron part, whether it's in your chart, is where you're learning this life to not feel like you've been given a shitty hand.
Right, it's like the forgotten by God complex.
Yeah, and when it's in Pisces, which rules the divine spirit and God, it's like, God, did you just leave me here and we're all fucked? Like, that's why do you think as Chiron has been in Pisces for this last 7 years, like everybody's like, the world's gone to shit, God's not around, the whole world, fuck this shit. We've all been screwed.
Who is God?
Yeah, and who is God? But on a personal level, with this full moon and it coming into Chiron, coming into Aries and then coming back into Pisces here, it's like Chiron came into Aries this spring and kind of went, fuck, man, like who I am and what I want, there's something that I'm not, it's all packaged the wrong way. And I need to figure out how to fix this, whether you call it wound or fix this shitty situation.
Right.
And then what do you get? It comes back into Pisces to go, uh-oh, the things that I want, am I guilty? Am I bad? Am I a bad, like, because Pisces rules that 12th house, Piscean, kind of like, am I delusional? Am I that? And when you have all this Scorpio now in the mix, and you have all this, you know, Mars on the south node, and you have a big full moon in Aries, this becomes this like, am I a bad person for being who I really want to be?
Yeah. Or, feeling shame about the vices and the subconscious desires and the shadow, again.
And that's what's weird is, if you look at where Saturn is in Capricorn and Pluto is in Capricorn, and this is where the party's going to be. I mean, a Capricorn party, with the South Node moving here in November, you know, with the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in its true final, like, ending from the 80s and the beginning to the new cycle. Like, that's the thing, is this new paradigm is, like, not gonna look like it was written for the last thousands of years. Like, and that's what people's subconscious is having a problem with, is they think, and I'll bring up Christianity and the Bible and stuff, like there's this whole ideology of, like, you live your life this way and that's how it's supposed to be. And if you're off this track, why do you think people are so depressed? Why do you think suicide rates are so high? Why do you think all these people are, like, feeling so empty and then searching for fulfillment constantly towards, of course, God, which is Pisces and all that stuff, but also at the same time being like, am I supposed to just live my whole life just to fucking just literally not get anything I want and not be who I want to be? And I have all these real desires and I have all these real needs and I have all these real things that I want to be in my life.
Right.
And that's the big choice that comes when when Chiron comes back into Aries, is this next 6 months really is about whether or not you're going to fucking be a trailblazer to the new world and just own who you are and be who you are and forget about the rules and the traditions because they're changing? Or are you going to fall into the matrix and put on your little fucking suit that everybody else is wearing and be that? That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that with the square to Saturn too, I think that it's bringing this full moon. I think that it's also bringing up time and, like, almost the feeling of running out of time and realizing that it's now. It's now, you know.
People are waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they're waiting, just like, let me push it off another month. Let me push it off till the right moment. With Saturn, it's like, yo, motherfucker, you should be up here building it, because once I leave in a couple years, what, you're going to wait till then at the last moment? And that was your big shift in your life?
Yeah.
Why don't you make your big shift now? Saturn's as close as it's going to get to the galactic center. It's gone for 28 and a half more years.
It's grind time right now.
And so it's like, and with Pluto coming direct this weekend, which is ironic because Pluto comes direct on Sunday.
As Venus.
As Venus is stopped at 10 degrees where it's about to go retrograde on the 5th. That this shit is not, it goes so much deeper than we all even, most people want to go.
What are you feeling about Pluto direct?
Well, I think, well, so this is going to be the first time in our lives that Pluto has gone direct in Capricorn while Saturn has been in Capricorn.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
We've never seen it.
Yeah.
Last time would have been in the 1500s. So during the Renaissance period. So, you know, there's this Renaissance movement happening, just like it was in the 1500s. But you know what? Like 5% of the people participated in the Renaissance. You know what everybody else did? They just like were like, I'm just gonna do my blacksmith work and whatever. And I'm not gonna fucking pay attention to like this art, and these people are being crazy. These people are doing things and putting subliminal messages in artwork and I mean, Leonardo da Vinci, sorry to say, worked for the church, but was an Illuminati who like literally put all of his, sacred geometry and teaching people the Hermetic alchemy and science all through his artwork. And it's so funny that the media and the world that we've been taught, they always show like the picture of that ugly, horrible woman that is like honestly his worst piece of artwork, whatever, the Mona Lisa. Yeah. When really it's like, okay, there was a lot more work that came out of his that was amazing. His books and his diagrams, the Sixtine Chapel is beautiful, and there's a lot of things with it all, but like, it's like, that's what they show. And the same thing's happening now. Yeah. Right? 100%. So it's like people have to come out and show their real selves and kind of go against tradition. And that's what this Pluto is he or she, whatever. Honestly, Pluto, fuck, who knows what Pluto is? Masculine or feminine. Honestly, but Pluto doesn't give.
It's a master teacher.
Uranus doesn't give a fuck, like, I'm going to rebel. Like, I'm gonna try something different.
Uranus is a fucking alien. I don't even know what that thing is.
But like Pluto is a destroyer.
Yeah.
So Pluto does not even care about rebellion or anything. It's like got one job. It's the Grim Reaper. And a new beginning, and it's in tradition. It's in Capricorn. And we've had this Jupiter-Pluto sextile for the last like 3 weeks during this Mars square to Uranus, during this, you know, finalization, I guess you could say, of all this crazy energy of the summer. And so Pluto coming direct is going to be like, okay, the path you choose in your life, is it really make sense for where you really want to go and the new traditions and the new place and the new world that, are you afraid? Because Pluto also scares people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's also about empowerment, you know, because, I mean, Pluto has so many lessons around attachment, and Pluto tends to take the one thing you're the most afraid of losing. So yeah, it feels to me like with Pluto going direct, it's a lot about claiming personal power in a place you've probably been scared shitless to fucking step up, you know?
Yeah, and because it's in Capricorn with Saturn for the first time in our lives there, as it's going direct, it's like, because sure, Pluto was direct when Saturn entered into Capricorn, but what people don't realize is this is the first time we went through the retrograde and then the direct motion of Saturn there. So it's like, oh wow, now it really makes sense, because when Saturn entered into Capricorn in December 2017, we had never experienced the retrograde of Saturn like we did from April to just like about a month ago. That was crazy.
That was so nuts.
Right? Because it was making you realize that your life and your structure and your traditions that you've been holding on to, like let's look at the traditions of work now, marriage. I mean, all these things, like they're changing forever, and people are trying to hold up. The other part of Pluto that scares me is like people, it's obsession, right? It's like, so it's like, no, I can't lose this.
Yeah.
And so that's the scary point, is like, can you just say fuck it and let it just be destroyed? Watch the Tower card like just happen. And just say, because it's not what I am.
Yeah. We were going to pick a card.
Yeah, we'll pick a card. We'll pick a card. well, let's pick one right now. What is it going to be picked on, though? That's the question. Is like, well, I guess Pluto coming direct this weekend was as Venus really is about to go into the underworld, which is kind of ironic because the underworld is Pluto, and then here's Venus going into the underworld next week after this Pluto direct. And so we're all about to go
face some fears.
You know, it's a little like Indiana Jones, though. Like, we're all about to go in the fucking temple, and, you know, like, it can be really fun and really cool.
Tomb Raider, dude.
Yeah, or Tomb Raider. She's badass. Which one do you like better, like Angelina Jolie or the new one?
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie was the badass. I wouldn't even watch the new one because I was like, this is a joke.
Yeah.
Well, I played the video game when I was young, too, on PlayStation. All right, so let's see. What did we get? We got the Two of Coins reversed. So this card, of course, is like trying to, and of course it's got a ship in it, right? So like have you ever seen that card in the Rider-Waite, right? It's just like the guy holding two pentacles that he's balancing, and in the background it's the seas, but it's reversed. And I think that what this is there's a ship that's turning in life, and it's gonna be so against like a smooth road. Like it's like because like to me I feel like the Two of Cups is like trying to go with the balance of your life and manifesting with the flows, right? But I feel like when I look at this card, it's funny, he's not even balancing it in the infinity, he's holding a rope. It's kind of interesting. So it's like I feel like we cannot rope around, or like just like a fucking, you know, a bull fucking or whatever, you know, and they do that shit. Like we just can't rope around our life the way we want to in an old system that we're not gonna be anymore, and it's gonna not be smooth, but it's taking us to the right place. It's like off-roading, you know? It's like, fuck this road. I know what's at the end of it. Why am I fucking continuing this shit?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think it's so scary for so many people because the authoritarian figures that are in place, Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn, they're not being honest. You can't depend on them. So you have to really initiate your own inner guidance system. And that's, you know, it's a process of trusting yourself, and that's why astrology is so amazing, because it's about diving into the self and bringing form to the formless, you know, so that you can understand it.
And that's, I think, what a lot of Scorpio, that form into the formless and having to attract it in, whether you call that seduction or the dark side of Scorpio is manipulation, like finding that fine line. And there's a lot of, you know, energy in ourselves that we're trying to deal with when it comes to our darker shades, our situations that are really who we are. And with Saturn and Capricorn, we still got to bring integrity too. So it's like, you know, that's the thing, is like, you might have like desires, but are they really like of good integrity, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the manipulation that comes along with Scorpios is so often not even someone else manipulating you. It can be, but sometimes it's the tricks you play on yourself to manipulate yourself into, you know, engaging in something that's not serving you, and finding out every reason in the book why you should. And that transformational process, which if you don't do it yourself, Pluto will do it for you, you know.
Yeah, and that kind of brings up this Mars-Uranus square and how Neptune was at the midpoint of the square and the semi-squares recently. And we have Uranus semi-square Neptune, which I feel like, okay, Uranus is in Taurus, right? It wants to radically change what we feel is good in our life, because Taurus is about feeling good.
Yeah.
And Scorpios too. They both are, they're the pleasurable signs. They just do it differently. You know, Taurus would like rather do it with like some cash in its hand and, you know, some good drinks and food and
luxury.
You know, like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like a nice, beautiful show or something.
Right.
Whereas like Scorpio is like, I don't give a fuck, just give me a mattress in fucking a third world country and like fucking, you don't even need to wear lingerie, and like, you got an open PBR fucking that's like from yesterday, I don't care, fucking like go. Right? So it's like, but it's saying like of like needing that emotional, spiritual, physical manifestation of goodness. But when you have Uranus now here in fall position, now we're having Venus in its detriment, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got Neptune in its home sign. It brings this really hard confusion of like what I want and the crazy ideas I'm going to try and find to feel good, but is it in alignment with my true soul path, and where am I delusional and where am I not? And that's the hardest thing in the world right now with the shadow thing going on.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And nobody has the answer to that but your own self.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is I don't think there is an answer. I think that it's a choice. I think that this is the universe's first true free will choice that we're all getting as humans ever, internally, to start to create what this new paradigm and world looks like. And it's that extreme because true free will choice does not have the answer except the choice in which you make. And there is no, with Uranus and semi-square to Neptune, those are very GPS ruled kind of outer planets, right? Like Uranus wants to figure out in a laboratory and have all the understanding, and Neptune wants to have a vision at least from God or the universe or psychedelics or whatever. But like when they're in a weird aspect, it's kind of like, oh man, like,
yeah.
Like I kind of have
unnerving.
to create that myself, and like there's almost like a black wall or a black energy behind the choice, like, and with this Chiron energy, I feel like the packaging might not look like exactly like we always thought it would. So it's like, but maybe that's exactly what you've always wanted too, when you look deep down. And this whole Venus retrograde thing, I think, is bringing all that out, which is like, you just have to go deep down. And I think relationships are the biggest part of this whole deal. I mean, this is a sun in Libra.
It is, for sure.
It's squaring the Saturn with this full moon, with a moon in Aries. I mean, this is like the trifecta of your life, the relationships you're in, and the place you're going.
Soulmates and what that even means at this point.
I mean, that's the thing. Twin flame, soulmates, like, you know, like it all is kind of like I don't really focus on that. People have been wondering like why I've been bringing up twin flames a lot lately is because I'm like, if there were to be a transit that would bring that shit up, it would be this transit because of the fact just that it's at such a real point now that it's really going to expose, is this really the path in your life towards destiny? Like to me, twin flames are about destined to the right same direction.
To the same direction and bringing each other higher. And I think the danger with the twin flame label is that by labeling that, there's this attachment to they're my twin. That's like immediate, really intense, almost codependent energy. And then if that person starts to not be the right person for you, there's always that psychological, you know, you want to fall back on that, but they're my twin flame, so I can't let this go. And it's like, your twin flame should be someone that's bringing you higher. And, you know, ascending with them into the higher realms, not the lower, you know.
Yeah, and with traditions changing in relationships, with the way that it is, especially, I mean, we go back to the last 8 years when the last Venus retrograde happened in Scorpio, back into Libra. Saturn was in Libra then. And so, you know, like it was interesting as well because it was also the Uranus had entered into Aries and then went back into Pisces again. So there's a lot of weird themes that go around this Venus retrograde always in Scorpio every 8 years of the switching of, because think about it, Uranus is an 8-year cycle. And how funny that on all these 8-year cycles of Uranus moving out of a sign is always like, oh, Venus in Scorpio retrograde. So
that's crazy.
Isn't that kind of crazy? Yeah. So there's this aspect where we have to go, holy cow, my world's going to change based on this deeper inner part of what I really want to be. And every 8 years lately, it's been that. It is also the infinity 8, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that this is all of this new universal paradox we all have to face in ourselves. And going backwards right now to things that you know already don't work and trying to fix them, you're realizing there's no fixing. Because South Node in Aquarius is, unfortunately, the Aquarius ride is broken, right? Like, it's broken. It's like the North Node's in Leo, and that's where everybody's having their hard time, is like, and this is where the nodes are, at 4 degrees right now, exactly where the lunar eclipse was on July 27th, and if you look at your life, at July 27th to now, it was a shit show. And this is bringing all that stuff up right now about, like, Leo knows what it wants. Scorpio knows what it wants sacrally. Leo in the heart. Taurus knows what it wants in its throat chakra, in its like true like value. And then of course Aquarius knows it in how it wants to feel connected to everything in its whole world and surroundings. So we're at the full, like, if you look at every tarot card too, like Wheel Fortune card, or you look at the World card, it has the 4 fixed signs, because this is a point to where we are creating the real world in which we all want in our lives. And that's actually what God even says in the Bible. The Bible is a man, a lion, an eagle, which is the Scorpio, and and a bull. So like it's like people don't realize that this is like God wants you to be however you really are.
Yeah, that's the real deal right there.
And to the traditional world, it's going to look like it's the ugliest painting in the world.
Yeah.
We're done with that, because that's the programming.
Yeah. Like, that's what this Aries moon is like, done with that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the beginning of a new cycle of identity.
Yeah, and with the Chiron there, it's been like, shit, I'm not really who I really am. So the last time Chiron was in Aries was at the end of the 60s. In 67, 68 was when it was leaving. Into 69, it fully went fully into there. And that was the whole hippie movement. And that was right when the Pluto-Uranus conjunction happened in 60, you know, it was a long one, you know, but like, especially in like 66 and stuff. And 60, it's like right then Chiron goes into Aries. And it's like people had a choice. Am I going to stay hippie or am I going to go back to society? And because these transits that are happening finally now hadn't really integrated, a lot of people went, oh, it was a movement and it's over.
Right.
Or they like went back to the normal life but stayed a hippie inside. Right? Like, oh, well, you can come to my house and smoke weed, dude, like in 79, you know, or 1981. Like, oh, I was there, like, you know. Yeah. But like, no, like, you know, it was good experiences. I live it like personally in my life, but I don't like outer live it.
Right.
And that's what the Pluto-Uranus square was of 2012 through 15, that was the first point after the conjunction in the 60s of finally reaching, are you going to actually integrate this radical stuff that you really want or not? You know what I mean? Like, and are you going to change the system? Because it's Pluto in Capricorn, Uranus in Aries. And Uranus comes back into Aries in November. And guess what? Pluto's in Capricorn. The Pluto-Uranus square is coming back, even though it's not exact. It's coming back.
Yeah, yay.
Yay! And to me, that's the expression of the true identity of the path in which you're at. And I think we're all kind of having this radical wake up 8 years later. No coincidence, Uranus moves into Aries in 2010. No coincidence, Venus was in retrograde exactly 8 years ago. No coincidence that in a month and a half, Uranus is coming back into Aries while Venus is finishing its retrograde, right? That we are all waking up and going, holy motherfucking shit, this is who I really am and what I really am going to be and the real path that I need to be in my life. And I can't worry about what my family thinks. I can't worry about what anybody thinks. I have to actually do what I have to fucking do. And everybody's going to associate that with ego.
Right.
Everybody's going to associate that with like, you're a selfish, you know, person. But that's why the North Node's in Leo. Like, we cannot live in a world where everybody is unhappy because it's wrong to do what you want. Like that is why everybody is not happy with the world. You know, like, because it's like, I mean, I'm not saying we are or a lot of people are, but like from the general consensus that you start to get, it's like, well, everybody's living a miserable life because they're afraid to be really what they want to be. They got this holding them back. They got this. They're afraid of, well, if I do that because my children, and even though I don't love him, I'm staying because I have to, and like my aunt, and blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's like, okay, all right, like, then sit there.
Right.
And then when you die in your deathbed, the number one thing is regret with Saturn in Capricorn.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about in my full moon video on my channel, is that the worst sentence I can possibly think of is taking my last earth breath and realizing that I only showed up halfway out of fear or because of that very reason. And yeah, this full moon is unapologetically just being like, I can't hold back anymore. You know, like, this is who I am. This is my shadows. This is my shit. You know, Sun in Libra, witness me and see who shows up to support you. And if you're in your authenticity, they likely will.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the thing, is this brings up a lot of, it's kind of a harsh and not fun subject to talk about, but it like brings up where we deal with people, and it's like, are you really, really authentic with me, or where is their hidden shit? And where is there stuff that isn't true? And where is there patterns of shadiness?
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And it's like, and even in ourselves, our own shadiness and the shady shit we do, and like having to face that and see with this Sun in Libra, like, are we willing to accept those parts? And it doesn't mean that we have to. Like, based off our own needs and our own wants and our own truth, it's kind of like this Libra balance beam is not an easy one because the Sun is at fall position. This is the worst place for the Sun to be, is Libra.
Right.
And then you got Saturn in dignified position, right? It's strong. Saturn in this T-square is the leader.
Yeah.
And now that the Sun's out of Leo, it's just Saturn and Neptune in their home signs. Like, that's it.
Right.
And so this is about a spiritual destiny that you have to go on, and that you have to read through these crazy, secretive, what's the truth, what's really going on. And with social media today and stuff, like, in how people are doing stuff and how people message each other and how people do all this crazy shit, like this shit is about to hit the fan hard. Look at, I mean, I don't know how much you follow politics, but like, look at like, you know,
Not at all, but.
well, you know, all the text messages came out, you know, by these FBI agents that were like saying, don't worry, we're going to make sure Trump doesn't win, you know?
Okay.
Like they were trying to do that shit.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff coming out like on the other half, because I don't want like Democrats to hate me and I don't want Republicans to think that I'm, you know, like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to play their side. It's like, and then look at, it's like everything's coming out about Trump. Like you did pay Stormy Daniels for sex. And, you know, so these are like little parts of it. The big shit's about to hit, and that's in our personal lives of like what really is going on. And I want to say this because I want to hear your opinion on this. Everybody, there's not one fucking person on this planet, not one, and I think that's the hardest part for people, that hasn't fully let everyone know the whole gamut of it all, and everybody has their own little secrets, and everybody has their own little things, because everybody has been trying to secretly navigate inside what is the best position they can be in their life.
Totally.
Oh, that was the bomb drop. So,
Yeah.
what do you feel about that?
Well, because I'm an astrologer and I pay attention to Scorpio when it's coming, and I know Scorpio, the archetype, that like I said before, the one thing you don't want seen is gonna be thrust into the light. I've been going into this period with that in mind and just being like, no secrets right now, because you're gonna have to deal with it later. So just like put it on the freaking table, and if they can't handle it, then that sucks, but it's better to know now who you're dealing with and, you know, provide a safe space for other people to be transparent with you and show their shit too, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, that gets in a really murky water too. Like, there's like some things where it's like, can some people handle it, right? And with Neptune and Pisces, there becomes psychological, mental health issue. Like, people can be so sensitive that they can't handle the truth, right?
Sure.
Like, whether that's in the world right now.
Sure.
And about the truth. Like, we all know that this place is like got some weird unknown, we're going to be exposed to the truth in the 2020s of like what's really going on here, and there's some creepy stuff behind it, and there's some good stuff behind it too, but like a lot of people aren't ready to handle the truth, and it's kind of like you also kind of have to determine like can certain people handle it, and like, because some people can't. I've had experiences recently where it's like I'm real and authentic, and it's like even a therapist told me like, you're being too real. It's like, okay, but I also kind of understand it. Like, maybe this person can't deal with it, or maybe this person can't handle it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the real spiritual, I think, test at the moment is like, can you handle it?
Yeah, can you hang or not? For sure.
Like, the feelings are not fun in Scorpio of jealousy. The feelings are not fun of envy. The feelings are not fun of getting screwed over. Like,
yeah, but I mean, the thing to remember with Scorpio too is that the payoff of facing it is so rewarding. You know, because that's when it's like the video game where you pass through the freaking portal and you get the medallion and you go on to the next level. If you don't face it, you just freaking go back, and then you have to do it again later.
I know.
So it's like, rip the Band-Aid off.
But you know, it's interesting, like, to bring up sex, since we're talking about Scorpio, like, and that is very connected to a lot of the secret kind of stuff too, of our own deep emotions and our search for this connection in life, because it's more than sex, but like there is sex attached to it in many ways.
Yeah.
And if you look at where like the world is with it right now, like more and more and more people keep kind of realizing like, holy shit, like everybody's trying to get more pinpointed on what they really need now to feel fulfilled in every way, not only, you know, just sexually, but like sex is intimacy of like a connection and a desire to be with one another. And how powerful is that? And if it's really based off that true understanding of each other and not judging anymore about how you've been, what you've done in your past, the things that you do, the things that you are.
That's real. Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Like, you know, it's like, I mean, I'll take me for example, like I was on a bunch of reality shows, and in one of them I literally on live TV cheated on the fucking chick and made out with the other girl. You know, so like I have like shadow work on TV, right? Like on parental control.
But you do exactly what I'm talking about. You just expose it. And you make it okay to expose that stuff. And like you said.
So when you go to try and date new girls and they see that, it's like, oh, this fool's gonna cheat on me because he cheated on this chick on TV. Which they don't know the whole backstory though. I mean, it's MTV.
Right.
The chick was just some chick I randomly met on a fucking street corner, literally. And said, do you want to be on TV? And she just moved
really young too.
She was very young, and I was 21. Yeah. But anyway, but like that's the whole thing is like, can you accept what you've done, who you've been, where you've been, the people you've been with, you know what I mean? Like the things you've done, like, or not. You know, like there's this whole thing about relationships too. Like when I was in LA and I was on all the dating apps and stuff, like girls would be like, you know, what's like the second or third day, be like, how many people have you slept with? You know? And it's like, what, you really want me to like give you a number? Like what's the number that makes you happy?
Right.
Like what's the difference between 7 and 20,000? Like, you know what I mean? Like really, like, I mean, what? Like just because it's you thinking 20,000 more times about me having sex with somebody else?
Yeah.
Or is it like, what is it? Like there becomes this like some people are really like having to accept other people. We're all humans and we all are feelers and we're all experiencing our lives, and that's just the truth. And if you can't handle that truth, then, you know, it's like kind of like, I think this Uranus and Taurus is like, well, I guess you're not going to get what you need in the world, you know?
Totally.
Sorry, because you can't handle what's going on down there. I think this is a harsh time.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Disclosure.
I mean, because you've got the malefics all in a row. You've got Saturn, Pluto, and Mars that have been in the same spot of the sky. You've been able to see them too. Mm-hmm. Well, we can't see Pluto, but you know what I mean? Like every night this whole summer, you just go up, oh yeah, there's well, and Jupiter was there, but it was like, you know, there's Saturn and there's Mars, bam.
Right.
And in traditional astrology, those are the two malefics, right? Mm-hmm. And they've been in the same spot of the area with, you know, and if we use Vedic astrology with, you know, with Ketu down there, you know, like the South Node, like that is not fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you add all this Capricorn stuff, this is harsh truth. It's not Cancer. That's the problem, is like people want this Cancerian vibe right now. Like, I just want everything to be okay and safe and be comfortable. And it's like, this is all Capricorn shit. Like, this is like where we are doing the work and we are weeding through the crap. And this is Aries work too, because Uranus is coming back into Aries, which is like, if you're in a place that you don't want to be, that's the start of the chart. Aries. Are you about to go start your life off of a place you don't want to be? Because the rest of the story is going to fucking suck. And for most people watching, whether you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50, 60, 70, when Saturn comes back around in Capricorn again, that's fucking 30 years from now. Like, are you going to ride this next 30 years in this shit show that you don't want to be in?
Right.
You know? That's what scares me. Like, it's like, as an astrologer, I'm making all the choices in my life based off where I know what's real and what I really want and where I really want to be. And all those traditions are falling away. I mean, how many people really like wear a chastity belt anymore? right? That was the tradition from the last Pluto Scorpio. Pluto Capricorn. Like, try and think 1760 through 1776, right? The Pluto transit last time in Capricorn. What are traditions then that are just gone now? So like sewing by hand is very rare now. Like a whole suit. And I'm not talking about the sewing kit you buy at fucking CVS. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I always say knitting, but some of the knitters get really mad at me, so I'm not going to say knitting anymore. There's still knitters out there, but that's going to be gone soon, if that makes sense. Like, I'm just being real. Just being real. Or it morphs into something different.
Right.
That's what Pluto can do too, is morph shit. So now it's like, you know, maybe a new knitting style. I don't know. Like blacksmiths are not blacksmiths anymore. They're like welders. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
So everything morphs. But like the way that we see it changes.
Right.
Help me think of more things from that period.
Dude, I don't know what was going on in the freaking 1700s. I don't know how you know that. You're amazing.
Oh, well, like, because I don't know, I love history.
You love history.
I've been...
Okay, blacksmithing, archery, I don't know.
Yeah, well, look at that. It's like the only thing that you can see archery at is at the Olympics, or there's some people in the South that go, you know, deer hunting with it. But it's like it's not the original thing. You know what I mean? Or you go to a really creepy Renaissance festival and, you know.
Creepy Renaissance. Now the Renaissance people are even
But
mad.
I'm just being Scorpio and real, you know? Like the last Renaissance festival I went to, like they were like taking it a little too seriously. And like I thought I was like in Willow, the movie. You know what I mean? Like oh my God. Like, you know, it was like gnarly.
Oh my God.
And I love Renaissance, but at the same time, like, it's like the Renaissance was a little bit cooler than that, I think.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, it's a cheesy form of it.
Sure. Sure.
Right, here's another good example. So, back in the 1760s through 1776, of course, it was the buildup to the Revolutionary War. And what was happening was there was taxation without representation, right? So it was like people were being taxed in Americas, in the colonies, by a force that was 5,000 miles away, and like for no fucking real reason, you know what I mean? Just to make money for the king, you know what I mean? And then there's these other aspects too that were coming out at the time where it was like people started to form kind of this more civilized understanding of what the civilized world should look like by creating the Declaration of Independence and by like having this idea of this new form of government and this new form of way of life, right? But when you look at religion at the time, it was on the backside. The last time Neptune was in Pisces was, of course, the 1840s through 50s. But before that was the 1690s, and that was during the the Salem witch trials and stuff like that. And so you have to start to like really look at history and go, like this demonization of spiritual people for what they do, like that's coming up still in the traditional aspect and form. To look at, this is going to be, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm just going to say this shit. You've got the demonization of spiritual people, and you've got this like, this is the way of life and how it should like be. Like you should court a woman and then marry her and then have kids and never leave her ever. Right? Like that's a big tradition from that hasn't fully been. And when you look at this Venus retrograde happening at the same time that the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is beginning in Capricorn, in my eyes, what we see as traditional relationships are completely, I don't want to say they're dying, but they're changing.
Yeah, I mean, with my client, that's the thing that I encounter the most. Is this exact issue of the total paradigm shift as far as the relationship structure. And that it's not working. Literally
it's not working.
Because you know,
because it contains your true self, and then you're being forced to live your life for that other person. And then it's like, what the hell? Like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And it's very restrictive. It's got support too, don't get me wrong. That's the beautiful part of relationships. But when the support is more supporting your fake self that you have to be instead of your real self, because it was like we all got cock blocked by some crazy ideal of how to be. And a lot of this stems towards, honestly, all religions that have in many ways found a way to trap people and say, that's what you have to do. And I did all my research 2 years ago when I did Age of Deception, my 5-hour movie. It's free on YouTube. And I was like, why is astrology not allowed in the Bible? And after all my research, it took over 800 years for them to put that in. Like, it wasn't like they just created the Bible the day Jesus died. Like 325 Constantine comes in, they come out with some forms of stuff, but it's not until Pope Pectin comes in, he becomes the first Catholic Pope to become the leader of Rome in 800. And in 800s, you got to remember that Rome was like done. Like the empire was like dying because like after Jesus' death and then after 325 with Constantine and then the 500s, the Goths, which are the Gothics, right, that believe in Thor and everything, sacked Rome, and they fucking did not believe in Christianity and still wanted to believe in their gods, because remember, Rome was still always trying to capital everybody. Like, everybody was pissed, and the Goths were pissed for thousands of years of Rome kind of trying to go in. Did you ever see the movie Gladiator?
No.
With Russell Crowe? You never saw Gladiator?
I know.
Anyway, the Goths were the last ones that they killed off, and then, but anyways, they came back years later and came back. But it wasn't until this 800s where it was like, okay, all these people who still believe in mythology and gods and all that shit, they're not allowed here anymore. Because imagine like right now if the president of the United States was like a Catholic priest, okay? And, or the Pope.
Right.
Right? Let's say the Pope lived in America and was like, I'm running for president, we all voted for the Pope. And the Pope somehow found a way to be like, I'm changing the laws that everything has to be based off. You do this or this. And all the senators and all the people in government went along with it and created all these laws that basically say you have to be this way and you have to follow Jesus and you have to do this or you are going to hell.
Right.
And then they physically started killing people years later. But anyways, that was where it happened. Was once finally the two joined each other. And that was the gnarly point, you know? And when that happened, fuck.
Wow.
You know?
Makes sense.
And so we're at a scary time, because I think the only thing that's scary is, are you going to live in that world anymore, or are you going to not be afraid to? I'm going to bring up a harsh subject, and I've always loved Doreen Virtue. I'm bringing it up.
Oh, Jesus.
And I still love her, and I think she's great. I won't use her cards anymore, though.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's the whole thing.
Because she recently, in the last year, said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going full Christian, and I'm only doing Jesus, and that's it. And in my personal opinion, that's her choice, so I'm not going to criticize her of it at all. But when you look at her now, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it.
For sure.
And what that thing is that's wrong, I believe, is that she got scared of this work and pushing through to the real light work that's finally here. Like, we all know that the time has finally come for the big shift and doing this big work and stepping into your light. And what is stepping into your light? Creating a whole new world with this whole new vibe and energy. And there's this huge fear around Christianity and that you're going to go to hell when the second coming of Christ comes, and they actually think that Christ is going to come through one person again, when Christ consciousness is going to be this collective consciousness. We're all Christ consciousness.
Right.
We are the second coming of Christ, all the world together. But when you separate yourself, that's the whole ideology, to not bring it together. It's the devil doing the ultimate trick on people.
Totally.
And when I look at her, as this great light worker who brought angel cards and all these things, and then denouncing it, and then all those people that she did certifications for, like now they're like not certified, you know, like by a girl who doesn't even believe in it anymore. And if you look at her face and you look at her, she looks like she's like a child who's being locked up in a prison in China, like gonna be a dog gonna be eaten on the street in a week.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying it for real.
I haven't seen her, but when I tap into her field, that's exactly what it is. It's sketch.
Oh no, I'm sure people are just saying in the chat, when you go watch her live thing on Instagram, it's scary.
I'll have to look.
It's scary. And then if you watch her videos last year before she got into it and stuff, she was free flowing it. But this is where I brought up in last week's Deep Astrology that there are deep, undercover, dark, secret agents right now that are attacking light workers.
Yeah, well, you and I were talking about that this week, is that these distractions are coming out of the woodworks all of a sudden, which is really interesting. You know, little tests trying to deter you because we're getting close, you know?
And they're presenting themselves as the holier than now, the best than now. And that's even, I mean, the Bible has a lot of great things to say. So I'm not going to say the Bible's bullshit, because actually there's amazing insight in the Bible. It's just gotten twisted in so many different ways. But especially I think the Bible's #1 best thing is about understanding darkness. And darkness pretends and is perfect. And when you look at these life coaches now on Instagram and all this stuff and their perfect way that they put it, and do my training program because it's the best thing you've ever done in your life, and I will change your life forever, and you'll be fixed forever. You'll be fixed. You know, like there's this kind of false light around all that stuff of unauthentic. Like I've figured out my life so much, and guess what? Like I've got no problems.
Yeah, it's like the dark guru.
It is, and it's presenting itself with unauthenticity, and then on top of that, like in the case of like Doreen Virtue, like we don't know what made her do that choice. Like a lot of people I've heard through the grapevines and stuff, like could have been like maybe, who knows, somebody she's connected with, right? Who like says you shouldn't be doing this anymore, and that's a dark entity that's trying to pull you away from your light work and kind of try and pull you out. Like in the Matrix, if you watch the movie, the agents are just normal people walking down the street going, and then boom, they take over. These random unconscious people that are not paying attention, that don't believe in anything, that aren't open to anything, but what they are is they're open to unconscious vibes that can be taken down by dark energy to come into your life and sway you off the track.
Yeah.
They can even take the closest person that you've been in love with for your whole entire life, or the closest family member, or the closest whatever, and if they're not into it and they don't believe it, totally be somebody that's trying to pull you out. It's gnarly.
Yeah, it's back to that inner guidance system of like, how does it actually feel? You know, not what it looks like, not the package, but like, how does it make you feel? And listening to that right now, for sure.
So what do you think are some tools to know how to listen to that and know it's the right thing? Since you are like the Scorpio goddess, even though you aren't a Scorpio, but you are in a way, but you're not.
I've got a stellium in Scorpio.
You have a stellium,
my sun in the 8th.
Yeah. By the way, she's a Sagittarius. If you guys didn't know.
I'm a Sag. Being tuned into your body, for sure. I mean, listening to your body, for sure. You know, if it makes you feel sick or nervous or uncomfortable, get away from it, you know? Or if you listen to that freaking voice, you know? The one that tells you it's not what it looks like, no matter how bad you want it to be. You know, that's that Scorpio manipulation of self again, of that, like, you know, you can, if you want something bad enough, you can try to manipulate yourself into thinking that that's what it is. But yeah, I would say tuning into the body. And big one, you know you're going the wrong way if the universe is freaking smacking you. You know, like if you're in a relationship that you know you probably should get out of, but you stay in it anyway, and then, you know, all these little things start going wrong, and you can feel that you're going the wrong way on the wrong street. Yeah. You know, and it can get gnarly because the lessons will get worse and worse and worse until you kind of have to switch. So I would say listening to that too. You know, try to stay in flow. If you're going in the right direction, it will flow. Not that there won't be challenges, but the challenges will make sense, and the outcome of those challenges will further your growth, not drive you into the frickin' dungeon, you know?
Yeah, and then there's the whole like placing fear on people for how they are. Like you should, like you shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? Like when people try to tell you that, like you shouldn't do that. Like, and I get that a lot on this channel. Like you shouldn't drink Powerade. You shouldn't smoke. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. It's like that's an automatic. Like you're not. Like I get the help thing. That's the Libra, like trying to help.
Yeah.
But it's like this is not that time anymore. Saturn's in Capricorn of your own path, like of what's going to take you there. That's like trying to say like when you go on a hike, like because that's what Saturn and Capricorn is, right? It's a hike on a trail to the top of the mountain. It's like, well, you're not wearing the right hiking boots. It's like if I get up there before you with everything fine, will it matter?
Right. Yeah.
Like there's, and you know what the number one tradition mindfuck is actually, I think, is that there is only like one way in the health world, right? Because with Neptune now in Pisces, it's in opposition to Virgo. So people are delusional about health. They really are. They're delusional about health. Like health, when Neptune was in Virgo at the beginning of the 1900s, that's when it was like the opposite. It was like there wasn't really spirituality. It was like, you know, like people, but it was like people were delusional about whatever that was. Like people were doing weird things in that space, but it was a time of, you know, bringing out medicines. It was a time of bringing out vaccines. It was a time where we actually finally started increasing the lifespan of people. So Neptune in Virgo was actually the best medicine time ever. Now we're Neptune in Pisces. It's the opposite of all that. Like it's kind of like health and all this stuff. Like I know a million people. I have a friend who died this last weekend, was a athletic trainer, and he's actually a friend of a friend. It's a long story, but it's like, you know, perfect everything. Died at like 50, working out. Didn't smoke, didn't do drugs, didn't do anything. It's like I'm seeing this shit everywhere. You know what I mean? And then everybody I talk to who's like doing like this is the way I need to be to eat to be healthy. I'm like, not only do you look unhealthier than I've ever seen, like, and I'm just being real. Like I'm just doing the astrology. Not only do you not look healthy, like you look unhealthier. Like that's the weirdest part. Like the people who are like saying I like eat, like people will tell me, and now I'm getting Leo, but I'll just say it. People will be like, man, how do you look so good? How do you glow? Like you must be eating fucking great. And I'll be like, I just had McDonald's yesterday, just finished a pack of cigarettes, and I just drank a Powerade and a Sprite.
Oh man.
It's about what's on the inside that creates your health and your life and your experience and your soul and your heart.
Yeah.
People are letting outer world stuff create their inner world instead of the inner world's creating their outer world. So, I mean, I could eat this fucking carpet, you know, and find a way to survive.
I believe you.
I could. I had a past life as an alligator during the dinosaur destruction and the extinction, and I survived underwater swimming for days at a time. And would pop up and come back down.
Wow.
It was a long time in the water. But like, and you know, maybe that's a personal belief thing, but I'm an astrologer and I mean, you know how I do my astrology. Like I get a little too deep. I go way into history, and the most delusional part of health is happening right now as Neptune is at the midpoint, the halfway spot of Pisces, exactly opposing Virgo.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So everybody's gone into the health thing. Oh, this shake, this protein thing, this thing you're going to want to do. And you know what's happening? It's like people are trying to do that, and it's like, I don't know, I don't really feel that great. Like fucking, you know, like, and guess what? The second you start doing things because you think you're going to feel better because that's the way it's supposed to be, you don't. You feel worse. I remember I was dealing with anxiety for years, and so everybody said, cut your sugar, cut your caffeine. So I did everything. I cut cigarettes, I quit it, I quit chocolate, I quit everything. I quit smoking marijuana, I quit everything. And then I went on this vegan, vegetarian thing, and then I went on this like, drink this crazy tea to get rid of your parasites. Like I did whatever all the yeah, it was the weirdest shit I've ever done in my life. It was like multiple days with the fucking all the leaves that are like crazy and the herbs and all that shit. I did a parasite cleanse. It was fucking weird, and what came out of the bathroom was like weird. I was like, okay, I don't know if that's a parasite, but fucking, I already have parasites come out of that shit every day. But like,
oh my god, that's amazing.
What, have you done a parasite cleanse before?
I'm all about the parasite cleanse.
Okay. So like, but like at the end of the day, I got worse.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, because I wasn't just living whatever I really want.
Yeah, and I mean,
does that make sense?
When it comes to health, it's like stay in your lane, you know, like.
Yeah, stay in your lane. That's it. It's that nobody knows the path.
No
that's
one
what
knows
I'm
the
trying
path.
to say. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is like, if you're into that and that works for you, then that's what it is. And whether that is extremely on whatever we call healthy. What is healthy? That's the delusion.
Yeah.
What is healthy?
Yeah, and I think that while Chiron's been in Aries, which is this collective identity wound, a lot of that tendency to tell other people what to do is coming from that, I actually don't know who I am, so I'm telling you who you should be because I don't fucking know, you know? And that's why social media has gotten so weird, I feel, is that it's this constant reflecting back of who I am every day, and everyone's doing it because they don't fucking know, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and like, it's like, as astrologers, it's not like we go around telling people like, well, you're unconscious because you don't know astrology.
Right.
Right? It's like, hey, here it is. You either like it or you don't, and I'm not going to push it on you.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I mean, if you get into medical astrology, everyone is so unique and perfectly different that there's no way that what you're doing could work perfectly for someone else.
I'm so glad you said that, because actually at the end of the day, that's what it is. We are all unique, individual, pristinely architected by the God in our own unique way, and there is no handbook for anybody.
Right.
You know? Like, and I've been honest that, you know, I take Klonopin, like I take a Western medicine, and I've been on it for 3.5 years, and it saved my panic disorder. So I went the Western med route after all that crazy shit, and I get a lot of rap for that. And it's funny because like, a lot of people in that community go, well, if you do that, the withdrawal process and the tapering is going to be the worst in your life. You know what I mean? But it's like so funny. When I was a methamphetamine addict, I smoked meth every day for years. And I remember when I quit meth, thank God for LSD, because it was the LSD that fucking said, stop fucking smoking meth. I was like, okay. So I remember I literally quit methamphetamine, and I didn't have withdrawals or anything. I just like went back to my life.
Right.
Like I didn't let it.
Right.
But
everyone's
see, that's
different.
Everybody's different. But so for some people, it might be the most horrific thing. Or like my friends that are going through opiate withdrawal for years and they can't get off that right now or whatever. But some of them like, oh yeah, I kicked that, no problem.
Yeah.
So there is no one-way solution to the whole handbook of how to live healthy, how to live your life. And that's what's connected to all this about picking your path, because even the health thing is part of that. You know, like, oh no, like I like am in the middle of nowhere right now, and there's a McDonald's here, and I'm starving, and all I have, I guess I'll just do the salad and the fries and survive. You know what I mean? Like, and then I'm starving now, and I have no nutrients, none. I'm like dying when I could just fucking have this.
Right.
And it's usually because they watched a Netflix show, Neptune in Pisces, that changed their whole idea of how they should be living their whole entire life. off a documentary that you wasted 1 hour of your time on, and you're just trusting everything in your life to that 1 hour documentary, you change your whole entire life.
For sure.
That's the shit that blows my mind. Like, a Netflix documentary changed your life, you know? Who knows, like, how that all is, you know? Like, do you remember that one documentary? It was like 10 years ago, the guy who ate McDonald's every day for 30 days? It's called Super Size Me.
Yeah, didn't he like, isn't that one where he puked in the parking lot or whatever?
Yeah. Which, you never know. It could have been a little, you know? I'm not a sponsor for McDonald's, by the way. But like, you know, it's like, but like, it was like, okay, that was his version of it. It'd be interesting to see like 3 other people's. So when you see that, you automatically assume, because it's a human being, guess what? A human being that ate McDonald's for 30 days threw up at one point and started having higher blood pressure and gained some weight and yada, yada, yada. But it was funny because he chose not to work out during that 30 days or whatever. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but like, it's like, why can't, like people automatically will watch something now, Neptune delusion, and attach their whole entire living on it. And then if it doesn't go with where they really are in their truth.
Well, let's pull back, and regardless of whether or not McDonald's is not that bad or horrible, I won't get into my personal opinion, but the point is, even if you're choosing to do the worst thing you could possibly do for your body, it's your decision.
Exactly.
And your death is your death, and it's yours. It doesn't belong to anyone else.
No.
And it's your big day. So if you want it to come soon, I mean, or later, or there's, you know, differences of opinion on what's going to bring it sooner than later, then like, I mean, stay in your lane, you know?
Yeah, and that's what this is about, is just stay in your lane. Whatever that is, and don't judge people for what it is. Because especially with relationships right now, right? It's like when you look on a dating app, it's like, okay, you can't do this, you can't do this. I won't like you if you do this, and if you don't want kids, then I don't want to talk to you. If you don't, it's like, okay, so everybody is just closing all of their connections of what they want only, without being open, Scorpio, of intimacy, of like, well, let me. Even though the packaging doesn't look like maybe the way I exactly want to,
right?
What if I go in there and actually see, you know, like, sure, he eats McDonald's, but everything else is great. But like, people are like letting something like that.
McDonald's is a deal breaker for me too.
You know? I know, but I'm using it as an example.
I know, I'm joking.
You know what I mean?
I'm joking.
It's not like I go eat McDonald's all fucking day. You know what I mean? Like it's like emergency. Like, fuck, gotta go. I'm fucking hungry and there's nothing here. Go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's 11 at night.
For sure.
It's like there's people, but that's the thing is there's so many things that are closing people from the world. Like, why can't everybody just fucking accept people for what they are, for the way they are? And also not be afraid to go in if there is a feeling of going in without that kind of judgment process. You know what I mean? Which I think is why Venus is going to retrograde back into Libra and go direct there, is it's ultimately not just about the shadow work, but the judgment of the shadow work.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it even goes into, because Venus is about like the clothes you wear, fashion, the hairstyles. Like it goes into a lot of crazy stuff, right? It's like, well, I won't date, or even, I'm gonna be honest, it opens up race, gender, like all those kind of things. Like, it's like, oh, well, this person's this religion and they're that race and they dress like that. No, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, okay. Like, you've already judged them 100%. Like, you don't get along with that kind of person. Instead of maybe having a conversation, it doesn't mean that you need to fuck them. But maybe they're one of the most amazing human beings that could be in your life.
For sure.
As a friend or a business colleague, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the shit I'm seeing more than ever right now, you know? And actually I see it the most in the spiritual community, you know? But then that, and I, you know, I think that's been my most vocal thing on this channel, is that the spiritual community needs to also check itself before it wrecks itself, as far as that spirituality is not defined and will never be defined, because it is the pure essence of soul. So soul is not defined by because I saged today, or that I did a meditation today, or that I ate a certain food, or that I did a certain thing. It's like the experience of your soul, period.
Yeah, being you.
You know? And the world is crumbling, that's holding down the ability for souls to go into playland. And we've all realized we've created our own prison, and we're the prison guards, and we're the prison people, and we're doing it to ourselves. You know?
That's real.
So, anyway, I think we should probably end it on a positive note.
It is positive.
No, it is positive.
Full moon in Aries. Show up as your authentic self.
Yeah.
Show your shadow. Don't be afraid to be authentic and transparent. And
if you want to, if like, you know, I won't say the person, but they're close to me in my life, they like to eat boogers. So continue eating your boogers. You know
right
what I
on.
mean? Like, you know, and like, just, yeah, it's like, but that's the thing. It's just like, that's all it's really coming down to. I'll be honest, this week is not going to be, the beginning part of this week's not going to be that easy. I mean, the sun squares Saturn, and then Chiron comes back into Pisces, and there's this feeling of guilt inside for, you know, like looking at your life and the choices you're making and the direction you're taking, and like, and are you spiritually like on the right path, like based off your own assessment of your own shadow? And that's going to be hard for people, because it's easy for Chiron and Pisces to go, because what is the last degree of Pisces? It is the moment before the light, the moment before the dawn, right?
Yeah.
Because based off the ascendant, right? Aries, 0 degree point is the chart, and that's the start of the day. And so the 29th degree of Pisces is that moment right before the dawn. Most people give up. And so this is where you're going to see people give up on their dream, give up on their true path of what they know they should do, give up on going forward on it because they just don't see the light there anymore. And
Fear.
There's a lot of fear, and then it's just kind of like, goodbye.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And then, but that can be looked at because it's Pisces in dualistic ways. And so a third party can look at it like, oh, well, you're leaving that situation and it's really beautiful, you fucking asshole. Or it's like, oh, wait a minute, you're leaving that situation because it's been really bad for you and you can hold on tight and keep going. Which one is it? Do, 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 do. That's going to be the crazy. That's what makes us crazy is Pisces, because we try to see what side of the spirituality is right or wrong in ourselves. We freak ourselves out. We battle with our what we call sin in ourselves of like, oh my God, is this unconscious or conscious? Like, am I leaving this situation because it's bad for me, or am I bad because I'm leaving a situation because I'm the bad one?
Right.
And that's where everybody's sitting right now. As they step into their true authentic self, then it goes, ah!
Yeah.
And anyway, I really don't know what else there really is. I mean, there's a lot, but I think that on this full moon, you know, I think it's extremely draining, the Saturn square, because it's like the realization of tough choices that we all have to make in our lives. I mean, that's what it really is. I mean, if we boil down to what this full moon in Aries is, from at least from how I look at it, it's you have to make the toughest choice of your life right now, and it's relationship bound, it's in your identity bound, and it's in that truth. And Like that's the big square to Saturn right now at these beginning early degrees of Capricorn, which this is like the beginning. So the ship's taken off.
Yeah.
And what ship are you going to take, you know? And you know long-term that destination if you look in your soul and you feel it. And if it's too complicated, that's the whole thing of this Mars on the South Node. If it's like complete complications, like things aren't adding up, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to do this crazy shit and then do this and do this and do this in order to get there. Like, it's like a maze. It's wrong. You know, because that's what this Mars on the South Node in Aquarius is. It shouldn't feel like a maze. It should just be like showing up as light that's ready to go. Yeah. That's what Leo is. I'm ready to go. I'm on stage. Where do you want me?
Right.
Aquarius is not that way. Hold on one second. Let me figure out how to, like, I would love to see an Aquarius by themselves try and get ready for something. Like, let me see. Oh wait, I'm gonna change this up. Am I ready to go? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's the thing, is like Leo is just like, let's go. The light's on. I'm here. And so situations in your life where it's like the light's on, I'm here, I'm ready to go, that's how you know it's right. But if it's like, I'm gonna have to do this, and then that's gonna have to happen there, and then this person's gonna need to like do this in order for me to be able to do that, and then we're gonna have to like then do this together in order to make this really happen, but then now there's gonna be the complication of that next, and then that next, you know, you are falling into the pit of despair of your own ego trying to make an equation that is not mathematically, spiritually, alchemically correct.
For sure.
So, I was telling Alex too before this. I'm like, fuck. I hope we can put some sort of hope like out there, because I was like, because it might seem like it's all fucking fucked up, but it's really not.
No, it's not at all. It's just requiring a lot of bravery right now. That's all.
That's a good way to put it.
But that's exhilarating if you show up.
Yeah, and that's what I think this Aquarius Mars thing is like, there's that excitement on the edge of the cliff, right? Like,
yeah.
You know what?
For sure.
I'm gonna go into the unknown in a weird way.
Yeah.
Instead of try and do these complicated, crazy, radical, weird situations that aren't fucking working.
Yeah.
Like, and don't add up. It's math. Uranus is math. Aquarius is math. Like, the math don't add up. The equations don't add up. It's like, why go try and sit in a crazy fucking room and try and continue to put more chalk on another fucking chalkboard when the whole entire room's been full of chalkboards in your mind that you've been doing it and it still doesn't equal? That's what this is going to be, the secret weapon to get through this. Equations that don't add up, and complications and mazes. If it's complications and mazes and this person's gonna need to do that, no, oh my God, like, it's just like, not gonna happen. Like, you already know. You know what I mean? And Leo stuff shows up right in front of your face. It's here, I'm here, are you ready? And Aquarius does not. Aquarius is like on another planet. Oh, I'm gonna have to like get on a jet, and I'm gonna have to take that there. I'm gonna put on a bodysuit. I'm gonna have to either call SpaceX or NASA to get to you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay. And that's just a bunch of complications. And then you get there and they're like, actually, I'm not feeling really well today. And I'm not feeling the same way that I was feeling yesterday. I just wasted all that time and that energy because of a complicated situation and you're not even on the same page anymore.
Yeah. Because
everybody's pages are changing that quick. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's going to be fucking crazy, I think, through this. This is going to be crazy. And I think that's how you get through it. And the positive is it's the crazy we all need to break the world that we don't want to live in anymore. So be brave and step up into that and don't freak out about it. Easier said than done. But you guys can always find Alex at Coyote Star Astrology on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Facebook. You do readings too, right?
Yes, you can reach out to me at coyotestarastrology@gmail.com.
And
I'm also on Instagram at Earth2Coyote with underscores in between. I post astrology on there as well.
yep. And if you watch her Instagram stories, like you channel so much of like, I believe it's the future, but then I always go back and go, maybe
video
it's the past.
game ancient future.
Ancient future,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's like, if you go into Alex's world, you know, you can like go into a whole nother dimension.
Thank you.
Yeah, pretty cool. So anyway, well, thanks guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for being on here with me today, Alex. You've been an awesome
Thanks for
friend.
having
and
me.
Thanks for being in my life for as long as you have and
Yeah.
sharing all the insights with me always. And then
Always.
thank you all for having fun on the live video today. Please share it, get this one out there, and check her out. She's fucking awesome. And just fucking be you and
Show up.
show up, because like, it's more fun that way. Later.